Welcome to Badger Tough Inside the Circle. I'm assistant coach Craig Pokorny here with Hall of Fame head coach Alan Pokorny. We're here to talk to you about the week in Bennington Wrestling. We're going to start off with a recap of the week, including competitions, and then we'll kind of talk about the upcoming week and give a little update on Wild Card and a few other things, and we'll just get it going. Just a reminder, you can send any questions to the Twitter. You can email Coach. However you want, you send us some questions, and we'll answer them on the show for you. Today's show is sponsored by Midwest Designs. You can go online to midwestdesigns.org and check out some of those clear bags for when you go to arenas for, say, the state championships. So whether it be state championship wrestling or basketball qualifies for state, which they're rated pretty high, so hopefully we see them making it to state as well. But just go to midwestdesigns.org and hit the contact form to let us know what kind of designs you want set up.
Yeah, and you didn't need clear bags this year at the Fracas. Heartland Event Center didn't require it, but I talked to someone there, and that's going to be coming soon, so maybe next year. So another reason, I guess, to buy that.
Yep. We'll kick off with a general recap of the week. Really seemingly short day or short week of practices. We had the duel on Tuesday, and we had to go to the Fracas on Friday morning, so not really a lot of practices this week.
Yeah, we had 3 practices this week. So the first practice, usually right after competition, we're reviewing things that we saw that need to be worked on and corrected. So that's what we spent Monday working on, and plus the normal drilling, to get better at the techniques we've shown already. And then we need to always put in the conditioning part of the live wrestling to get that down. So that was Monday, and then Tuesday we have our duel with Central. Then Wednesday we're back at working on things we need to fix again, and Thursday getting into more of a make weight type of a day, and a lot of drilling, and kind of like a walkthrough in football where we drill about every move we've shown so far, and try to get a little bit of intensity out of that, so that they're working their weight off, and at the same time, learning, continue to develop the technique. So not a lot of time this week to show anything new. Not a big deal, but we still have stuff we'd like to show yet. And but right now, we got the major high percentage moves put in that are highly effective, and so, but we still want to continue, showing new stuff down the road a little bit. But the good thing is I'm seeing, each week it's a little bit better and better. We talk about the youth and the inexperience there. They're picking up things now, and about 2 weeks ago it was pretty rough early in the week, but now I'm noticing that the guys are understanding what they're doing and doing them out there. We just need to start refining and getting better at it, and expanding from there. So it's kind of where we're at with practices. This week.
Tuesday we had our military appreciation duel against Omaha Central, hosting the Class A school. Didn't quite go as well as we'd hoped. Came out with a close duel, but a loss nonetheless, 34-48. What are your overall thoughts on the duel there?
Well, first of all, with the military appreciation, we asked for donations to go towards the Bennington Veterans Memorial. Any final cost they have for building it, and also future maintenance costs is what it's going towards. And prior to this, we've raised approximately $5,000 for it, and we raised another $1,000 to go towards that. So that's greatly appreciated. For me, that we have the support of fans and parents and administration and everything to raise that to help our community out and do something good for the community, and to recognize the veterans that gave so much for us. And we had a special guest this year, and we're going to try doing that every year. Get a former wrestler come back that served time in the military and give him special recognition prior to the duel. And this year was Joe Trader, and Joe's been a big part of the military appreciation duel, kind of getting things going with that and helping out, getting the honor guard and other things, and also was very involved in the Veterans Memorial, which because of him, that's where we put our donations towards, and so I felt that he was probably the first one that deserved being recognized, and especially since he spent spent some time overseas in Iraq and saw some heavy fighting there, and certainly an honor to have him serve our country and also be part of our wrestling history and stuff. So
yeah, Joe's a 2-time state medalist, state champion as a senior for us. So for those that don't know Joe, that's his his credentials, his really brief credentials with Bennington Wrestling.
Sure. So anyhow, as far as the duel went, we're very aware of what Omaha Central likes to do, and we started, in fact, the Thursday before working on defending some of those techniques, and because we knew we'd see them at Boys Town and then see them again in the duel. So they're a very dangerous team, and really it's good to see that type of team, because you need to see it sometimes rather than just listen to the coaches talk about it in practice. And sure enough, they did what we expected, and it was tough on us. Omaha Central came into the duel ranked number 7 in Class A in one of the polls, and currently the new rankings came out after that, and they're at 10th right now, but still top 10 team either way, and we really had a chance. We should have beat them. Put it simple, we should have beat them. It was probably one of the more frustrating duels we've had, from the coaching standpoint in several years, just because, if we would have just finished out and done what we should do, we would have won the duel pretty easily. I kind of figured out what the score should have been if we did the minimum what we should have done. There was 4 matches that really changed the score tremendously, and we would have beat them by a score of 40-30. Instead, it became us losing 38-48, and so just tremendously frustrating in that part. Not necessarily in the effort of the kids, but just recognizing what we talked about and catching it, and that's part of being young,
Right.
And some of those guys are a little older too, so they should be ready. But the important thing is that hopefully they learn from that, and if it comes along down the road this year later, that they recognize it quicker, and it's not so bad. But we had 2 matches where we were losing, and probably going to lose the match anyway, but it was very late in the third period, and but it was close enough that it was just a decision. That's 3 team points they get for a decision. But either we hung on too much, or we end up getting pinned out of those situations. And sometimes you get on your back, you just got to fight and get off. But I also understand how good Central is at pinning. And that turned into 3 extra points for each one of those at 6 points. We also had 2 matches where we were just dominating the guys. Took them down pretty easy, turned them over, almost got some pins in both the matches. And then something happened, Zach, the things we worked on,
Right.
and suddenly it took us dominating them into us getting pinned. And in each case, that's a minimum of 9-point swing, but the way it was going, it could be as much as 12-point swing. And in 2 matches, that's a lot of points, and therefore that's why the duel ended up as it was. If there's anything positive we can take out of it, one thing is what we learn from it and get better, and the other, we got a nice compliment from the official. I didn't agree with him at the time, but he after the duel he says, "You guys were the better technicians than man. We thought you guys wrestled real well. You had better technique than Omaha Central, and you just got caught in a couple situations." And I guess that is a compliment, but I'm looking at the scoreboard and saying that's and that we lost and we should have won. So, but yeah, that was a compliment there, I guess.
Yep. Good to see that dangerous style of Omaha Central, especially when we start seeing some teams from out west and even central Nebraska that like to do some of those moves. Sometimes that paid off. I think in seeing Northwest, they have some of that similar style, not quite to the extent of Central, but hopefully that helps us going down the road when we see Northwest come state. Saw them this weekend, but we'll get to that. Actually, getting to that, started out Friday and Saturday at the Flatwater Fracas in Grand Island. Big dual team tournament, 27 teams there. One of the toughest tournaments in the state. There's teams from other states there, Wyoming and Kansas, and some rated teams there from those states. And then some of the top rated teams in the state in A and B, and it's a really tough event. So started off with a tough pool draw there. With Grand Island right off the bat. They actually ended up taking second in the whole tournament. So I don't know if you want to talk about that one a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. This is a great tournament. Like you said, there's 4 states represented, 17 teams ranked in the top 10 in their representative state. So very, very tough tournament to get into and very good for us too. Seeing Grand Island right away. The first 3, I saw the draws and the first 3, I was like, wow, this is going to be rough. And Grand Island finishing second in that tournament. I think there's all top 5. I mean, almost all the top 10 teams in Class A are there.
Right.
And so. Very loaded tournament. So we're starting off with the team to end up second in this thing. That didn't go quite so well.
Tough duel.
Right. And I thought that we might be able in a couple places sneak some wins in where we can make it a chance at pulling an upset. But the one thing, I could get out of that duel was that, and I talked to the kids about is the difference in intensity between Grand Island Senior High and our guys coming out. I don't know if we were afraid, if we were tired from a long bus ride or warm-ups or what it was, but we seemed to be, kind of slow and lethargic out there. And part of that too is, when you're young, you got to learn, you got to see that intensity at some point. Mm-hmm. And that's where this tournament really is going to benefit us tremendously down the road. We've had a lot of success in the Fracas. And we had some success here too, even though we had some not so good moments either. But, we finished 4th twice in this tournament. So that's, you're starting to look at what teams are finishing 4th right now. And you're like, wow, we did pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's not like we haven't been there before. But this was a great tournament for our guys to see that level of intensity. And that's the thing I got most out of it that I talked to the kids about. And as the tournament progressed, we seemed to flip to the other side. And as towards the end, we were the team that were the aggressive in intensity. And so I was really pleased. But senior high, that was a tough duel. It was probably the worst one we wrestled in the whole thing. And we seemed to get better every duel, it looked like, whether the score indicated it or not. We had Northwest next, GI Northwest next. They gave Grand Island all they could handle. They ended up losing by 6 to Grand Island, and they're one of the top teams in Class B. One ranking's got them number 2 in Class B. Another one, I think they're around 4 or 5. But they have a solid lineup top to bottom, and that's what makes good dual teams. And again, they're a dangerous team, like you talk about. They got some funk that can catch you sometimes. But the thing I've noticed about them is more recently in the last few years, they've not only had that funk, but they've actually become better technical wrestlers than they used to be. And some of that comes with, they have a good program and they're doing well. So that one we gave them a little closer battle than senior high, but still lost that. 23-48. We did have some good matches in there. Probably the highlight of the duel was at 220. You had Garrett going up against the returning state runner-up, and that ended up going into overtime. And Garrett ended up losing in overtime. But I think if we meet him again, I think Garrett's going to get him this time. On average, I feel our guys improve throughout the season in the close matches. Traditionally, we see most of our guys catch up or pass up those kind of guys early when they have early matches. So,
and I think seeing him early in the season and having a close match will give Garrett a lot of confidence that he can win that match. Even though the guy's a returning state runner-up, he knows that he can win that match, and hopefully next time goes out and gets it right away.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anytime you start gaining confidence, and that's where Garrett's really turning the corner. He's finally seeing. He came a long ways last year, and this year he's making a big jump to one of the elite in Class B, and a lot of that has to be with confidence and to push a state runner up to the limit like that. And I guarantee you, that guy doesn't want to see Garrett again.
Right.
One thing I tell our guys, and I saw it as I come off, when they come off to shake my hand, you could see in their body language and demeanor and everything how they felt that match went. And this guy was dead tired. He could barely walk over to us and shake our hand, and I saw him go off to the side and sit down, and he was exhausted for a long time, so he doesn't want any part of that again. So that's good, and I'm sure he's a little nervous that if he sees Garrett again, so Garrett's going to get him.
Yeah, we probably won't see them till state this year, not in our district this year, right?
Right. Yeah, so we won't see him at all till state, but that's all right. We'll be ready next time.
Yep. After Northwest, we got a tough draw into the next set of round robin pools, and had Omaha Burke right off the bat in that set of pools. They ended up 5th in the tournament. Another really tough duel there.
Yep, they finished 5th, which I was a little surprised because they're probably one of the number 1 or number 2 team in the state all class. But there was such good competition there that they end up 5th place, and it just depends on when they get beat out. In fact, I think they actually lost to the number 1 team in Class A,
right?
In a duel, which dropped them down to the best they can get is 5th place. That was in a quarterfinal, so best they could do is get 5th place, and they did that. So, I guess that's not a surprise. They might finished higher if they had a little different draw, but
actually ended up losing to Millard South, who got third of the tournament. So
right, yeah, Millard South's the number 1 team in A in all class.
Yep.
Which that may all change now after these results too. Kearney went out and won the tournament, and I think Grand Island Senior High probably gave them the closest duel if I remember right, but. Anyhow, that Brook duel, they do have 2 world team members on that, which is very unusual for the state of Nebraska to even have 1 or 2 world team members And what I mean by world team is, the cadet world team is based. It's 15, I think it's 15, 16, 17 year olds.
Yes.
And you got to qualify by winning a national tournament to get on that and the trials and so it's from. I mean, it's a true world team where they're beating everybody across the country to make it, and competed overseas, and so they had two guys on the world team there, and obviously they got had a great football program this year, and several of their starters are are wrestlers too, and ran into some of them too, but so very quality team, and one thing I was talking to Jake Smith, former wrestler of ours and now head coach at Gretna, and he told us how much they got beat by. They wrestled Burke early in the year, and we did better than Gretna did against them. So I'm gonna have to give Jake a hard time next time I see him. But probably the highlight match again was at 220 in that duel. They had a kid that's rated pretty high and fifth or sixth in the state, and Garrett beat him handily. So the score was somewhat close, but the kid got a 5-point move right away, and so Garrett had to come back from that and did and won. He pretty much dominated that match, so that was great for Garrett to also get confidence there. But again, it was then the difference between them and us in a couple places where I thought maybe we could be competitive or sneak in some extra wins. It came down to the different levels of intensity between them and us, and
I definitely thought that one we didn't wrestle with the best technique in the world. A little bit sloppy in some matches.
Yep, I know what you mean. So, and I don't know. Sometimes kids try going for big moves and stuff like that, and there's a case where I encourage one because we're going against the state champ, and I thought, hey, maybe. In Benton's case, he's a pretty good thrower at times if he sets it up properly and doesn't get in a rush. Well, he got in a rush and right to his own back. And that guy was a state champ. I was like, hey, let's see what can happen here. Let's catch him right off the bat. But we had a couple others. I thought we didn't wrestle the best, but overall I think it was more just the level of intensity, and a lot of that intensity comes with confidence too. They're a very confident group. They have a lot of guys who've wrestled for a long time, and so that helps. And when you're young and even inexperienced somewhat, you don't have that confidence yet, so your intensity isn't quite as high. But I thought it got better after that duel,
right?
Because that was like the third duel in a row. We talked about, hey, just watch these guys, watch them wrestle when you're not out there, and see that intensity they have. That's what you guys got to learn to bring, and as we get going, we'll talk about that. So the last duel, I guess, of Friday was against Norfolk, and Class A school again. At they always have a solid program there. They're not in the top 10, but they're a solid program, and so anytime you beat a Class A school, the depth is what you got to deal with. Filling out all the weight classes with quality wrestlers, and they traditionally have a quality program, so that was a good win for our guys. We won all the matches we hope, because I go into every duel trying to scout things out and see what we can do, if we can make any adjustments and to help improve our situation, and I knew it would be a close one, and we won everything we should have, and I thought our intensity was better, so that was good, and picked up a win there to finally get on the winning side and go home, back to the hotel feeling better about ourselves.
Yep. So we went 1-4 on the day, or 1-3 on the day, but ended with the win and went into Saturday into the silver bracket, and really told the guys, looking ahead at the bracket, we thought we had a pretty good chance at winning the rest of our duels and win the bracket, and told them they just had to, they had to pick it up and so going forward, first we had a bye the very first round, and then saw Smith Center, Kansas, right off the bat. I think they're rated in Kansas.
Yeah, they're
number 8.
Number 8 rated team in Kansas in their class, and so certainly a quality team.
Mm-hmm.
We end up winning that one 46-36, which was good. I was really pleased with the intensity that our guys showed right off the bat. So that was good and kind of set us up for the whole day. I think the guys, finally got another win and over a quality team, so they seem to be a little excited and wrestled a lot better. Then we got North Platte coming up after that. The one team that really made me nervous out of that silver bracket was probably Waverly. They're rated fairly high in Class B, and they're very solid. And I looked at our matchups, and it looked tough. It looked like we were going to have a tough time winning that one. I thought that was the toughest one if you look at matchups that we would have. But North Platte beat them, so kind of nice for us that North Platte took care of them, and but also kind of a little nervous at the time too, and say, well, maybe I'm underestimating North Platte.
Yeah, because they won 54-30, so it wasn't that close of a duel, at least on paper, in the final score.
Right.
So.
And North Platte, they're Class B this year, but they've been Class A most of the time, so they're a big school and used to being in Class A, and and I know they have quality kids on their team, so that was kind of started making me nervous. Then it's like, all right, this is going to be a tough one, and so but we ended up winning that one 46-33. We ended up with the interesting situation in the duel that kind of a long delay in the duel, whereas Colby Puck's match, Colby was really controlling the match, but this kid could roll around and do all kinds of things, and it looked like Colby would have him pinned, and all of a sudden the kid would roll through somehow get through, and have Colby on his back, and he would roll out, get out of that, and Colby would come back and get him on his back again, and then there was a series of events that happened right one time where there was a lot of points thrown back and forth and went out of bounds, and then the officials trying to get it all together and correct, and went over to the head table, and all of a sudden you got the timer that's running the score clock standing up, and the official, and their faces are about this far apart, nose to nose, and like, wow, they're that's interesting conversation that they're that close, so I started walking over there because I wanted to help make sure that our score was correct, and so apparently the timer didn't like how the official was talking to him, and started getting into it, and the timer was going to walk away and not do it. But they finally think they got things settled down and got some more people around, officials around to help settle things down, and we had some conversations, and it took a while to get the points right because they were flying so much around there that at that series of events that it was hard to record them all, and fortunately we have stat keepers who keep the stats, and and everybody missed a set of near fall points, but at least what they have gave us a good basis to and I don't think he even threw up those points. I don't think he even showed those points.
We'd have to look at the film again, but I agree with you. I didn't see him actually put up those 3, but Andy and I knew he counted them out.
Right.
And Colby held him there for a long enough time, so that definitely helped out. That was a set that got missed, but it seemed like it took forever to.
Yeah, and most of that
away.
I think was trying to settle down the official and the timer. So,
I mean, at one point we had 4 officials on the mat, 3 in stripes, and the head official trying to, get everything organized and straightened out. So,
but we ended up getting that settled down, and in the end, it didn't matter. Colby ended up getting a pin, and that was important too, because as dangerous as that guy was rolling around, you can get caught, and all of a sudden that's a 12-point swing,
right?
So we ended up winning that one. That was a relief, and then end up against Lincoln Northeast in the finals of the Silver Pool. Another Class A school we're competing against, and same thing. We always got to go against some of those. The Class A, you always got to worry about that depth.
Right. A very physical team.
Physical would be one way of saying it, or dirty would be another way of saying it.
At least in a couple matches there.
Yeah, there were some dirty things going on there, but I think there was 2 matches primarily, or 2 kids, and fortunately our guys kept their calm and didn't do anything stupid, and they got some unsportsmanlike on them in a couple of cases, and we ended up losing those 2 matches anyway, but it's too bad that that happened, but wrestling is a physical sport. We understand that, and don't mind a good hard crossface, but that's a good crossface, not a swing from left field and across the face, and that's that's where penalties are, and sticking your thumb in the eyes, trying to gouge them underneath, and things like that, and forearms back ahead. Those are not in the rules, are not allowed. So, but
some of those the official was able to see, some of them he was not able to see, especially the left field crossface.
Yeah. So, well, that sometimes those kids they understand that if they get officials on one side, they can do something on the other side where they won't see it. And the officials, I did have a brief conversation in the middle of the match. He said, "Yes, I understand. I'm trying to watch for him, trying to get him and trying to catch him when it happens." But so, he did control it as much as he could, and I thought he did a good job controlling that match. It didn't get out of hand because it could.
Yeah, there was one point where it could have really gotten out of hand, but he was able to talk to the guys and calm them down a little bit there.
Right. But anyhow, we got a couple of big wins from our freshmen too. With Hunter. Hunter ended up losing his match, but he wrestled real close and almost got a win over a kid with a decent record. So that was good. That in my book, that saved us 3 team points. And I'll talk a little bit more about him later maybe, but and then Walker Benkin ended up getting a pin.
Right.
And Gavin got a pin. And so, and as freshmen, young freshmen like that, in this tough of a tournament, it's rough on them. But they kept battling all day. In the last duel, they're helping our team out.
Right.
We don't win without them getting pins. So it's great to see they contributed to the team success, and everybody does. It's part of that. So we ended up winning that one 42-34, and that was a silver bracket. Basically, they take the top 16 off of the results from the first day and put them in a gold and a silver bracket. There's a couple teams, in fact, one that we beat pretty good, in the Lincoln Southeast. They made the gold bracket, but when we started out with Grand Island Senior High, Northwest, and Burke, it's hard to, where we're at right now, it's hard to make that gold bracket.
Right.
But also not necessarily a bad thing, but we certainly could have been in the gold, but we didn't. So best is go off and win the silver. So
right.
Silver bracket championship. That's
there you go.
Hang our hats on.
So as a team, we went 4-3 overall on the weekend. So ending on a winning streak, a nice four duel winning streak. Any individual performances other than what we kind of highlighted in the duels that you wanted to speed
Sure.
through.
One thing I was really pleased with, from the whole tournament overall was I saw. I don't know if I've ever seen our team seem to grow so much throughout the tournament. Um, as far as I talked about the intensity early on. We didn't look intense, and then by the end of the tournament, you could see some guys that really pick it up, even that you normally didn't see, and you may say, well, that's just a competition you're against, Burke or going against Lincoln Northeast. They're two different teams. Well, still, you see those guys at Boys Town and other duels and Bennington Invite, and you can see that the level of their technique, the intensity of their wrestling went up. Their technique is getting better. And Hunter Anderson is one of those guys. Boys Town, looking at him, he looked, slow and I think a little nervous. Being the first time out as a freshman, never really wrestled before. Now he's on a big stage at a high school tournament. He looked a little nervous, and he ended up getting a medal there. But had some fortunate situations happen for him there that helped him earn that medal, and but you could tell he has a ways to go, and I keep looking at him in practice, saying, man, this guy's got some potential when he figures things out, but you don't see that in a competition yet, and that's normal. That's really normal for someone new. But I saw him throughout the tournament really grow. He became more confident. He ended up getting 3 wins. One was a forfeit, but he did get two wins. He wrestled that last kid I talked about from Northeast. Very tough. The kid was 10-2 going into it, and he was wrestling right with him. It was tied going into very late in the third period, and the kid ended up getting a reversal to win the match. But Hunter did put him on his back for a brief minute to get a couple back points late in the match, and was looking to possibly get another turn to win it, and maybe trying to force things, which is good. You have to at that point, and end up getting reversed. But really pleased to see that growth, and I saw that for some other guys too. I spoke about Walker getting a pin there. He went 3-4 on the day, and that's not terrible, for where he's at experience wise, and the quality of a tournament we're dealing with, and the teams we're dealing with too. I mean, we wrestled 4 ranked teams, and then the other teams were all very solid teams that we competed against. His experience level, that's not bad, and got several pins too in doing that, and Gavin Dahlgren, same thing, just trying to battle in there. He's he got that pin in that Lincoln Northeast duel that that's huge. That like I said, that's 12-point swing if we didn't have him or we get pinned. But he goes out and gets the pin, and that was very key in that duel, because I knew that was going to be a close one. And really him and Walker were the kind of going into it, kind of the swings that I thought that those two guys are going to influence that duel quite a bit, which way they go.
Right.
And I wasn't necessarily expecting pins out of the guys, but they got them, and that was better than what we're hoping for, and so that's good to see that, and for them to be able to contribute to the team like that. And we had Matthew Coe. He's wrestling real well right now, but as we talk about with this tournament, just some really tough kids. He wrestled, I think, 3 state medals or something like that, and so it's tough out there. But you could see the improvements that he's had over since last year. So, and you're starting to see more consistently him wrestling well, and even in the losses sometimes, that's what we want to see, just improvements, constant improvements, and I always tell the guys we don't want to be good. We want to be good now, but we don't care about the results now. When you have success later, we want to be good at the end of the year, not necessarily now. It's we want to learn and grow from it. And talk a little bit about Robert Greenwood. He in my email, he picked up 5 pins, I think, on the day, and I think that's more than double what he did all year. So he figured out how to pin people now. So he's been winning, having good success winning, but hasn't been pinning. He figured it out. So that was great to see him picking up some pins, and he's still, there's a few things we need to work on yet to continue his improvement and his progress. And Colby went out there and had a good tournament, winning record. I think last year this is kind of a turning point for him where he just got roughed up, and mentally you kind of saw him not really progress throughout the season just because he had this tournament. We had Badger Duels was tough for him, and then EMC, and we're still got a couple tough ones in a row yet here that we got to go through for our guys. But so he kind of had a rough one last year, and this year is good to see him doing well and coming out with a winning record. Zach Utek had a, he's finally starting to look like he's starting to get in wrestling shape after missing a little bit early in the year. He was one of those guys, I saw his intensity go up, and his wrestling, he's wrestling better than he did early in the year. At Bennington and at the Boys Town. I thought he wrestled better. The results will eventually come, if he continues to wrestle with the intensity he is, and continue to improve on his technique. That those wins will come. And looking at Luke McDonald, had for a freshman coming in at 152. That's in my book, that's just more of a junior and senior dominated weight class. Going 6-1 is tremendous. He did have that one match against Omaha Burke where he, I don't know if he forgot to wrestle or what, but it looked pretty sloppy and didn't look good.
I think he fell behind a little bit from some of that, and then it snowballed from there, trying to hit one thing after the other and just trying to make things happen, and it just snowballed on him during that match.
Yeah, so he'll probably get a chance to meet again, that kid, and hopefully we see better results next time, and just settle down and wrestle a good solid technique, which really he did most of the tournament. And he ended up getting a tech fall and 3 pins throughout the tournament, which is great for a freshman coming in at that weight.
Right.
And Ryan Green is, I thought his intensity picked up too. Obviously we got some very tough opponents here, but he had a key win in that North Platte duel.
Where we moved him up a weight class.
We bumped him up. We had a situation at 170 where we had 2 guys coming with the team, and Hunter Thompson woke up not feeling good, so we sat him out early on until his last duel. He said he was feeling better, but I think he just wanted to wrestle, and we ended up putting him in, but you could tell at the end he still wasn't feeling good, and maybe we shouldn't have done that. But unfortunately, then we had probably Logan Burmester came along too, and those guys were actually alternating, and so it wasn't going to be a big deal except for we get to weigh-ins, and I think it's the first time I've ever seen an varsity tournament with that has an actual doctor there that they did not clear him to wrestle because of acne. Basically had a big big zit on his back, and he popped it, and since it was open, they wouldn't allow him to wrestle. And I discussed it much with them, with the tournament director and the head of officials, and we had a long conversation on it. It's disappointing. There's 90% or more of the kids have acne out there, and while they're wrestling, they break open all the time. Because it just happens because you're in a physical sport. But because it was at weigh-ins and it was, an open wound, they threw the MRSA word out there. And once they did that, the tournament director's like, no way. Like, is it possible? Yeah, he doesn't have MRSA. The doctor said, yes, there is no MRSA, but it is acne. It's like, okay, acne. But it is what it is. Good lesson to our kids, though. Don't mess with your skin around weigh-ins.
Don't mess with your skin from the night before on.
Or your teammates or stuff like that. Because we've had things where it made me nervous where guys were messing around, just joking around with their friends and slapping each other in the back because they could leave a red mark. And it's like, guys, you got weigh-ins. What if the official doesn't believe this? Or, don't be jacking around like that. But that was too bad for Logan. He didn't get a chance to continue wrestling. But going back, yes, we did bump Ryan up, and he got a major decision, which sealed the win for us against North Platte. And we had Buzz coming up, took care of business then, but you don't know what could happen there, and especially in wrestling. A guy get a lucky throw or something, and you lose. And I felt Buzz was had a good chance of winning, but and he did. I think he pinned the guy in about 30 seconds, but like I said, you don't know what could happen. He talked a little bit about Hunter Thompson. He wrestled the first day, but the second day he only had that one match, and first day he got a good win against Northwest, wild match. One thing about Hunter, he doesn't have a lot of wrestling technique yet. He's learning it and he's getting better, but he's a guy who's never wrestled before. But he's got a motor on him, and he doesn't like losing, and he never quits. Mm-hmm. He was down, I think, 4 points or something like that, very late in the match, and got a takedown and back points. So I know he got back points right at the end. I mean,
there was 2 seconds on the clock when he got the started, and so
right. He was down by, he got the takedown, then he needed to turn the guy, and he was working on it, and as soon as he turned him, I looked at the clock, and there was it switched from 3 to 2, and so I knew that he was going to get it. It's just a matter of how the official interprets it. So official, since it happened so right at the end, he went to the table to talk to the table worker to make sure that he was tapped on time, and they agreed it was, and he basically made it by within a second of winning that match, 20-19. Very high scoring match. So you rarely see almost 40 points scored in a match.
Right.
But exciting, and Hunter's got a great future ahead of him. And Buzz, like I said during the tournament, Buzz does Buzz things. He's fun to watch. He's the funnest one, I think, to watch. He just goes after guys, and
he's just always aggressive, nonstop.
Very aggressive, and just takes it to the guys. And he had, let's see, I think he had 5 pins in less than 38 seconds. And one of those matches, a Smith Center kid, he was actually took him down right away, and he jumped into trying to get a cradle too quick and got a little out of position, and ended up rolled through. And that guy's a good wrestler, and Buzz couldn't get off his back, and unfortunately got pinned there. But if he would have just if he wouldn't have got out of position, who knows? He might have had another 30-second pin there against a very good opponent. And some of those guys are not bad. It's not like he was just pinning bad wrestlers in 30 seconds. I mean, those guys are decent wrestlers. I mean, I know that Lincoln Northeast, I heard their coaches, because they were the way we sit, they were 4 feet away from me,
Right.
and they were shocked. They were like, "Wow, what happened here?" Because their guy got pinned in 16 seconds, and looking on paper, that was a match I thought was going to be a toss-up. The guy had a real good record, and Buzz just took him down and pinned him, and so a lot of fun to watch him wrestle, and how far he's came. I remember last year, disappointing not being able to make varsity, and lost close wrestle-offs every week. But it's great to see him being rewarded now, and all his hard work, and he did put a lot of hard work in the weight room over the summer. And we go on to Benton, Cornette. Benton he was one of those guys that ended up with a lot of tough kids. Like I said, he had the state champion from Burke. He wrestled him. Grady Grice from Northwest was a state runner-up last year. And you can go down the line and tough kids all the way. So very tough a day for him. But the one situation, I think it was Grand Island Senior High match, very first match duel of the tournament. He got into a little bit of a scramble and had the guy planted flat on his back. He had him on his back already one time before and kind of controlling the match, but Grand Island's obviously a good team, and so they were in a scramble, and he ended up rolling on his back, giving up a couple back points. He came through and put the other guy flat on his back, and it was tight. It was going to be a pin.
He was planted flat, shoulders were pushed into the mat, like the kid wasn't moving.
Right, and the ref blew the whistle. Not invert. He did it on purpose. He did it intentionally. Not thinking because Benton did lock his hands, which is a technical violation, and they stop it if you stay on top. But if you get a reversal, it's supposed to continue. And since the guy reversed Benton to his back, and then Benton got a reversal back again and put him on his back, it should have never stopped. And as soon as Benton got off his back and rolled through, the official blew the whistle to stop it. And the guy's a good official, so you don't send dirty emails to him or anything like that. He did apologize afterward that he blew that one. I know I was frustrated right after the match because Benton ended up getting pinned in that match, and when we should have had the pin. So, I told Benton I wasn't upset with him. Don't worry. It's kind of except with what happened there that he had a win, and against Grand Island that would have helped at least the score look a little better.
Right.
And then we had Garrett Minke, tremendous tournament again. He went 6-1, and his only loss was a state runner-up. He gave him everything he could handle, and I talked about that earlier. So, anyhow, that was great for Garrett. And then we had some other guys jump in there, some freshmen. Jake Steyer got his first taste of varsity competition, and Keaton Andrews. And overall, it was kind of rough for those guys. Both those guys, they never wrestled. I think Jake had a little bit when he was really young, but you can't really count that when you're in first grade or something like that. And both those guys came out in 8th grade, so they're super new to the sport. Both are athletically talented and maybe strong for their age, but again, they're freshmen. And a freshman at 220 and a freshman at Keaton wrestled 170, I think, and 160 once. Let's see,
160 both times.
60 both times. We moved Ryan up both those times. I know I was thinking back and forth trying to figure out what would be best for the team to put those in, but they had a little rough go. But hopefully, what I want to see out of them. They learn from this and grow from this and see that experience and see and feel that level of intensity and stuff. And we could talk forever about how much it helps you if you mentally can handle it. And we had several other guys come along that we couldn't get into the tournament, and and I appreciate them coming up, being there, being ready, just in case, because you never know. Like I said, we had an illness that came up during the tournament and a skin situation that changed things. That we need those guys there, and hopefully it's a great experience for them to see. If they're watching that level of intensity, watching how things go, and you know what, someday they're going to be the varsity guy wrestling in this, so it's not going to be new and shocking to them, because I could tell when Keaton and Jake both went out there, they were scared. I'm sure. I didn't ask them, but just the look in their face and stuff, they're like, oh my gosh, and I'm out here and.
A decent sized arena, 10 mats out there. It's a lot bigger than going into a high school and wrestling on 3-4 mats.
Oh, sure.
So
hopefully that experience, that even the guys didn't get in, at least they were there. They got familiar with things, and they were there in case we needed them. Mm-hmm. And if there's any way we can get them some competition, we would. But it's just hard.
Right.
And I know that I'm just using a football team as an example, and not everybody gets in when you play games, especially close games, so you have those backups in case. So it's similar to that, and the only thing is, if football, if you're blowing a team out, you can maybe get some garbage time, they call it, and where players get a little bit of experience, and that's good. But that's tough in wrestling. If we're blowing out a team, which we didn't blow anybody out, we had some solid wins, but no blowouts. It's still hard to get them in. And the reason is, sure, we can just say, hey, why don't you just put them in? Well, think about, when would you put them in? Let's say you put a backup in. Would you put him in against a stud or an easy guy? The kid would like the easy guy. Well, it's not. And it's not fair to put the backup against a super stud and just get him crushed. So you say maybe the easy guy. Well, look at the other hand now, the starter, that the varsity guy who's trying to, to later in the season, it's going to be important at districts and stuff with seeding and all that. Now, if you're giving him all the studs and the backup the easy guys, pretty soon that hurts his record, and now he's got it just hurts his record for when it really. We need to have those good seeds. Mm-hmm. So it's not fair to the varsity guy to get all the studs and not the easy guys. So it's a matter of when do you get him in. It's just tough to decide. So generally we stick with going with the varsity guy in these things, and those other guys are backups, and they're there to in case we need them. And you never know. There was a time that we almost put Carter Lurch in. Mm-hmm. Just because, and I don't remember which team it was. I think it was North Platte, actually. They didn't have a 195-pounder, but they had 282-pounders. Well, we had thought about if they came out and forfeited to us at 195, then we were going to put Carter in there to pick up the forfeit and get the free points, but they end up putting their guy in, and so we end up wrestling with. But he almost had a chance to step on the mat, and whether it's a forfeit or not, it's still a varsity win, and it's 6 points for the team and important. So those are things we need those guys around for in case we need to.
Well, and there's times that they have to step in, where we had a couple of guys, step in and wrestle a couple matches.
Sure. So I'm real thankful they came out and at least got to be there and experience it and help our team out, and maybe down the road they're going to be the varsity guys.
Yep. So over the week went 4-4 over duels, 4-3 at the Fracas, and then the duel against Omaha Central. Just a reminder, Badger Tough Inside the Circle is sponsored by Midwest Designs this week. It's midwestdesign.org. As I keep saying, check them out mainly for those watching and listening. Those clear bags are going to come in handy come February when we go to state. So don't wait to the last second and possibly miss out on having time for us to make those for you. So midwestdesigns.org. We have the upcoming week ahead. We don't have a tournament on Saturday. We hit the moratorium, but we do have the Beatrice duel. So before we talk about the moratorium stuff, I'll let you give a little insight to what's coming up with Beatrice. We almost saw him this week, or had a chance to see him, I guess.
Yeah, they made the semifinals of the silver pool, silver bracket, and I thought, and they upset Norfolk, who I thought was going to win that side of the bracket, who we saw earlier. So I was actually kind of glad to see, kind of in a way glad to see him upset him, and in a way kind of again makes you nervous,
Right.
you know, because I thought Norfolk was a duel that we won, but couple swing matches go the wrong way, and we lose. They had a quality win there, and Beatrice is a top 10 team in Class B, so they do have quality wrestlers, and so that's going to be a good duel. We've had some very close duels the last few years with them, and so it'll be a good duel for us. That comes up Thursday. We'll practice the rest of the week up to that, getting, trying to fix some of the things we saw this weekend, obviously on Monday, and then get ready for that duel. And then Friday, we have a practice. School is out early. They get out about 11:45, so we're going to practice right after school. Try getting in some. We'll have to go over some things from the day before, and if we have a chance to get anything else installed, anything new, we'll do that. But try getting them out at a somewhat reasonable time. Hopefully, the goal is no later than 2:30. But it also depends on the kids, how intense they are. And sometimes a day before break, they're a little squirrely, let's say. And so trying to control them and
might go a little long in dodgeball, something like that.
Yeah, so we'll have to manage that a little bit. Try to get them out at a reasonable time, so if families are leaving town for the holidays, they can get on the road with some daylight, and so after that, the moratorium. If you got the calendar I sent out earlier, you'll see that was a moratorium, December 22nd through the 26th, where we can't have any practice. We can't have any contact with them in the school at all, and I think that's a good thing. We would normally, we like to give them a break because it seems like we come off a tough tournament with the Fracas, and with the first 3 weeks of competition, you're a little bit sore and a little beat up, and you come out and you get a little break, and that guys just seem to be refreshed after that, and then we get into the season and get going. So I think it's a great thing for us to have that moratorium and 5 days required to be off. That's good and bad about it. I think good because I think they're mentally and physically more refreshed and ready for the last part of the season and the meat of the season. But the tough part is they come back, they have 2 days practice, and we got to compete. So making weight's going to be tough. This is the closest I think it can be for the least amount of practices before the Badger duels. And next year the calendar shifts a little bit, so we got a little bit more time. But so it's going to be rough. And we can't organize anything for them. It's going to be up to them. And we'll talk to the boys about that, what they can do. I'm going to see if I can talk to that nice lady at the Anytime Fitness so she can get them some kind of wrestler break deal.
Moratorium discount, free gym pass.
Well, she does offer some 5-day passes or 7-day passes to anybody. So it's not just wrestlers, but there'll be, if we're able to get that, it'll be some kind of limit on the time because you got paying members there. You got to be respectful to them. And but we'll see if she can do something there. she's a tough lady, but I think I got a little inside on that.
Well, guys can also go run if they need to. Some guys have a little tighter on their weight might want to go out for a run, or those that want to eat a lot more. If you want to eat a bunch at Christmas, maybe just go for a run after sometime during that break a couple times and
yeah. The more you eat, the more you're going to have to work off. So, they can do things on their own like that. But at least they're get away from the physical part of wrestling. That kind of beats up your body, and so just the running. It's just that's a lot easier on their bodies. But they will need to watch their weight. I know some things guys have done in the past, and I probably shouldn't promote any of the gyms. I might get in trouble, but guys have gone to the YMCA before together as a group, go swimming. I don't know what if anybody's got memberships there or not, but just those are a couple things that they can do. Main thing is they need to keep that weight off, and it doesn't hurt to go out for a good run for a couple times, or if you have something at home, or like I said, there's some gyms available for that. Just can't do it with the school.
Yep. So every week we touch on the state duels wild card and give an update. Lately it's been the way too early update, and
still is
the way too early update, especially the next couple of tournaments will start really getting past that way too early part. But as of Friday, before the fracas, with our record sitting at 1-1 at that point, we're sitting at number 11 with 43.5 points. You had mentioned earlier this weekend that you think 45 is roughly the magic number to get to.
I'm just thinking, looking at what, volleyball and other sports, seeing what they do. It's, I know it's not exactly the same, but that seems to be the range, kind of where things are going right now with other teams. That seems to be the range. 44 to 45 is probably where you're looking at breaking into the top 8 to make it the state. So had we won that central duel, we would have been number 1 right now, and in the still way too early rankings, but we would have been up there, I think, with like 49 points or something like that, because they were a top tier team as far as a record in Class A, and we would get the maximum points for beating the there's 4 quadrants, and they were in the top, so with their record. So that plus 2 extra bonus points for wrestling up a class for Class A. So we would have picked up 52 for that, and I think we had 46, or something like that, 46, 47 before that. But either way, that doesn't have a long-term effect, but yeah, it kind of hurt us losing that duel. That maybe down the road, I'm hoping that doesn't make a difference. But in the end, you hope that things balance out, that we pick up an upset where we shouldn't have won a duel, and that balances us out. Because in most sports, they have district qualifying tournaments that first you qualify through the district tournament. So if you have drop a game or so that you shouldn't, and knocks you down in wild card points, but at least you still have a chance to qualify. Us, it's strictly season, which there's good and bad. It does make every duel more exciting, more interesting, more important.
Every duel counts. Every duel matters now.
So we can't take it easy and then expect to sneak in through a district tournament. We're going to have to earn it through the season. So something we'll have to be working towards. And I know we talked to some other coaches at the Fracas about that they're talking about, wow, is this Fracas really helping us or hurting us in the long run, for this, and there's a possibility. We don't know at this point, but we have no intention of not going to it, because I think it helps us in the long run.
Right.
And obviously we see a lot of Class A schools, so we get a couple extra bonus points for being there, but we still got to win.
Yep.
Because if you lose even to Class A, you're not getting enough points.
Right.
So it still comes down to winning. Got to win your duels.
Yep. Next week we'll have a little bit more, I don't want to say accurate spot, but a little bit more information once our practice results are in there, and possibly, hopefully, the Beatrice duel will be figured into that, so we'll have a better view of where we're truly at that point. It just seems like this early with only two duels in, it's hard to say where you really should be landing. But next week going forward, I think we're gonna have more and more accurate place where we're at, especially having this dual tournament and then Badger duels and then EMC duels. We'll have a bunch of duels in a matter of a month. That's gonna really solidify where we're standing. And yeah, as we see Class A, especially having a bunch of Class A teams on our regular schedule, getting some bonus points out of those, and hopefully get some good wins from those. Not seeing any new tweets come in from anybody wanting some updated info. Wait, no, not quite. So, any other general thoughts or opinions from this week?
No, we covered a lot. And,
Yeah.
And with this Fracas being a big tournament, there's a lot to cover there. And like I said, probably the biggest thing is the progress our kids have made, and I'm really, really happy. But that doesn't mean we're there yet. We're a long ways away from where we like to be as a team. I really like where we're at. We're much further along than I expected, based off our experience level. And the best thing of all, I know the potential we have yet. We still have a lot of potential there to grow, not only this year, but even more down the road, in the next 2-3 years. So kind of exciting, fun group of kids, that's for sure, and having a good time with it. So,
yep. All right, well, that's it for this week. Tune in next week at 2 o'clock on Sunday again. It may be the moratorium, but we'll still be on.
Yeah, we can talk during moratorium.
We'll have a Christmas special. We're going to do something Christmas.
Uh-oh.
Don't know what yet, but next week's our Christmas special, so tune in. We'll also recap the Beatrice duel and do a slight preview for the Badger duels. So we'll see you next week.